Hey, Elle, what a journey have we been on together?
Yeah, another big journey, but I wouldn't be on it with anybody else.
Oh, absolutely. And so, to our listeners, if you didn't tune in last week, Ali and I are super excited because only in a few short weeks, I think it's October, we are launching our membership area where we,
Our BSF membership,
yeah, our
brave,
Brave, Strong,
strong,
and Fulfilled
fulfilled.
membership area where we'd love you to come and partner with us and to
Yeah.
join on another whole level if on this personal development and growth journey. And so
Mm,
we will be sharing more about that at the end of this episode today.
mm,
But yeah, so we've been on this journey together, and a couple of
yeah.
weeks ago, Al, we had a conversation around life's journeys and how
Yeah.
sometimes it's quite hard to see where we're going and
Mm,
discern what journey are we even on.
yes.
And all we can see is like the next step.
Yeah.
And yet at other times, it's as clear as day the path we're on and where we want to get to. And
Mm,
yet navigating the steps can be quite tricky.
it's not.
And this is certainly the space that I've been sort of camped in over the last little while. And
Mhm.
the the knowing, like how do we, so I've been asking myself this question, how
Okay.
do I know that the path I'm on
Hmm.
is the path that I've been created for
Mm.
and the path that is the one for me to be on right now?
Wow. That's big. They're big questions. They're not for the faint of heart, Kath.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I think maybe it's an age thing, I don't know. But I've got to a stage in my life where I don't want to spend time
Mm, mm.
um on a path that is not for me
Yeah.
and on a path that's not mine to be on. And I
Yeah.
think I've spent a lot of my past life you know, on other people's paths or trying to
Mm.
be on a
Like
path.
pre-coaching, you mean,
Yeah, yeah, more pre-coaching space for
hmm,
sure. And even in the coaching space, I've had
mm,
seasons where I have felt more clearly that,
yeah,
this is exactly where I'm meant to be, what I'm, what, and I think part of that is it brings me so much life and joy to
yeah,
be in the space that I'm in. But there
mm,
have been seasons as well where it gets a bit cloudy or a bit
yeah,
foggy, a bit hazy, and you're kind of wondering, oh my gosh, is this really the path for me?
yeah,
And so I would just love to have a conversation with you around how
sure.
do we discern the
Mm,
path we're on,
mm,
and what is it? I suppose what are the clues? I love the word you use, clues. What are the
yeah,
clues that help us to identify, oh yeah, this is actually, it is the path for me or not.
mm. Great, great conversation. Excited to be in this space today and unpack it a little bit. And what's coming straight to my mind at the moment is and it talks about our feelings and our emotions, but I want to at the very get-go talk about there's a very big difference between living according to our feelings
Yes,
and reflecting on what was going on inside and then making decisions accordingly. Because if we're to live based on all of our feelings chop and change all the time, every day.
absolutely.
However, if we're thinking about, okay, am I on the right path? And we start to reflect on on our history, I think one of the places we might start is to go, okay, well, how are we feeling on that path? What did that bring up for us? What did that stir within? But I do want to be very careful to say, forward thinking, don't make decisions based on how you're feeling necessarily. There's a difference between a gut instinct and also evidence and all of those things. I don't want to talk about us being fleeting and just based
Yes,
on
and I
feelings.
think for me, there's kind of different levels of feelings.
Yeah.
There's the
Okay.
surface level, like in the moment on the surface, what's going on, and then there's the deep down gut knowledge of
Yes.
things. And
Yes.
I think that, those are different. And so
Mm,
quite often so I have made choices based on the surface level
I
fleeting that
think
I'm
we all have.
doing.
Absolutely. I don't think you could be in the human race and not have done that.
Yeah, and it's in those times when I suddenly find myself on this path that I, at my
Mm,
gut deep level, there's just a knowing that, oh gosh, this is not for me.
I love that
And I
word, and
think that's the
knowing.
discerning, that's the
Yes.
discerning. And so I think just having a conversation around the fact that there are these different layers of,
Mm.
and the surface level, um, so I'm going to share a story that is
Okay.
quite personal. So something that
Here we
happened
go.
really quite recently, and I went on a walk. I've shared this with you, Elle,
Okay.
but I went on this walk, and I was really trying to discern and to find out and to really have a conversation with God about the path I'm on, and is this the right path? Um, and I've learned a whole lot of things since that conversation, and I think that might be helpful in the space. And the one thing I've learned is, what about if it's less than, I'm a details. I can get caught up in the details. And I think I get caught up in the details of these little narrow paths. And I think, and I'm visual as well. You're visual as
Mm,
well. So if I can think of my life as a broader path, I think sometimes there are a whole lot of choices of paths within my broader path of life
hmm
that can all be right.
Yeah, for sure.
So sometimes it's not a case of, is this, is it right or wrong? But
Mm,
I think I just wanted to know and sense that because I know I've got a tendency to completely go off track and to sidestep and to go out on a tangent and
hmm
be going on a path that isn't aligned to my big, broad life path. I don't know if that
Sure.
makes sense.
It does make sense. I
Yeah.
love it.
And so I'm trying to learn and discern from those times, and it's to
Mm,
reflect back and to go, okay, what is different? How do I gain a greater awareness of when am I on one of these paths that is the path that is towards the life I want to live and the life I know I've been created,
yeah.
and when am I on one of these other paths that have like gone off on a tangent? And so I was on this walk, sort of, a prayer walk, kind of, I suppose, and and I felt a sense of the Holy Spirit trying to like almost teaching me, like, okay, follow the path, and what does it mean to
Mm,
actually follow the path? And I was walking. I've shared before that walking is my go-to to think through
mhm.
these things and to find answers to life's big questions. And so as I was walking along this path in the natural, I'm seeing, I was actually in the botanical gardens and uh, following this path when I see a beautiful little pond on down on the sort of left-hand side of where I was going with a sort of pathway off to go and explore something all different. And there was a big part of me that said, oh, doesn't that look great? I want to go down there and explore that. And I just had this sense in my spirit that that's a distraction. I could go there if I wanted
Mm,
to, but that wasn't the purpose of the walk I was on that day.
mm.
And so so I didn't. Part of me wanted to go down there and explore, but I thought, okay, I'm actually wanting to press in and to hear what it is that find out what I want to find out.
Yeah, follow that knowing.
Follow
Yeah,
the knowing. Yeah,
yeah.
and just that little example has given me such great insight, because how often in my life have I looked sideways and seen something else that looks so appealing and looks so fun to go and explore, but it's
Mm,
taking me off and away from the path that I know deep down is the path that I'm meant to be on. And so
mhm,
for me, that was quite an aha, light bulb, like, oh gosh, okay, so it's to be aware of and notice the distractions
mm.
and to ask myself, is this thing that on the surface level
Yeah.
appears to be, you know, something that would be exciting to go and explore maybe and curious to go and explore, but is that taking me to where I want to get to in the big picture?
Mm,
And I think if I had had the insight to stop and ask that question more previously, I think I would have spent less time sort of
distracted.
distracted and
Mm.
going down rabbit holes, because goodness knows in this day and age, how many distractions are there and shiny
Way
balls.
too many
You
rabbit
know?
holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so for me also, well, it again, and then it asked the next question. So how do I know? Like, how did I on that day have this knowing that? And I think it was, it's like on a surface level. If
Mm.
I just followed that surface level feeling, it'd be, yeah, go that way. But something deep down, sort of deeper in me, the deeper knowing, just knew that um I had a different path to follow that day.
Yeah, wow. And you followed it.
And I followed it, yeah. And I think to not sort of get all woo-woo about it, I think we all, I mean, Al, do you have a sense of knowing, like there's a deeper knowing of things and then there's a more surface level, just fleeting
Yeah,
feeling of things?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think living life and getting older helps us to be really become more mindful of those moments.
Mm.
Um, but there's also, I think if we can look back and go, okay, there was that moment where I was distracted and I went down that path and I realized that it stirred up this journey that, while it was okay and not necessarily wrong, just didn't align with me,
Yeah.
didn't sit right. It didn't have this peace. And I think today, like what, for example, creating this membership for us that we're on the journey towards, and it's exciting. Is it easy? No. Okay, it's difficult because we don't, it's things that we're learning. We're learning how to put all
Mm.
these things
Yeah.
together. It's new. However, there's this knowing. It
Yeah.
aligns with us. We know. Now, there's been other times in our lives where we've gone and done something and it's been hard, but it's kind of been like this rough, I don't know, like prickly, and just didn't sit, no matter how hard we tried, didn't kind of work.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
love
that's
that.
a
Yeah. It
difference.
is a difference. And for me, what I'm noticing more and more when I'm in that space of the prickly, and I'm just, that's when I realize I'm trying to force something or strive for something
Yeah,
more out of a place of, and often for me, I mean, this is just me personally, but often it comes down to a place of people pleasing.
yeah.
I'm doing this now to perform for somebody else or to please somebody else
Mm,
rather than from this platform of okay, this is hard, this is new, this is probably uncomfortable, but I just know deep down that this is not trying to
mm,
perform for anybody else. This is
mm.
not trying to please others. This is, yes, we want to encourage others and we want to
Yeah.
shine a light for others where we've been before and learned something before, and
Mm,
we want to add value and to
mm.
make a difference. But there's a difference in that yearning to encourage and to share value, and then on the one hand and then performing on the other hand.
100%. And I
Yeah.
think all of anyone tuning in today, reflecting back on their life, there'll be moments where we've all made a decision because it looked good and it seemed, and look, there's nothing wrong with trying these things
Yeah,
out. Like, we don't
absolutely.
know unless we give something a go. And that's part of it, right? But I think that the key here is knowing when to really, and when to leave that thing be because it's not right, and to change the direction. And it's trusting that, hey, we've got this far in life, we've made these decisions before, and we've got to back ourselves and trust ourselves. And sometimes it's talking it through with other people, and all of those things. um
And that's why I love, coming to the coaching space. I think was the first time that I had anybody, a coach asking me questions like, but what does your gut say?
mm,
And that had me stopped in my tracks. I'm like, what? What do you mean? What does my gut say? Like, oh gosh, I don't know. And I'm just
mm.
scrunch my eyes up.
Did that help?
Figure out what my gut said. But now, these days, if I ask myself, what does my gut say? It's like I instinctively, it comes quicker. It's more easy to discern
Mm,
what that is
mm,
because I think, I've spent a bit of time practicing sensing what that is. So if you're listening and you're feeling like, gosh, I don't know how to do that, that's
Mm.
okay. It's a journey, and it's a growth journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've also been so grateful to have stumbled across this whole thing called coaching, because I think the more work you and I did in the space, in our learning and in our growing and in our working with clients, has helped me to clarify for myself, what are my values, what are my needs,
Yeah.
and all those things that we help our clients with. I think it's sort of, we work in that space every day. So it helps. And I think it's helped me to gain clarity on this, discerning this big path and that lower level. Whereas I think in the early days, if I reflect back to like pre-coaching years, I didn't have much awareness and understanding and knowing of the sort of deeper level of what is important to me, and what have I what does motivate me, what are my skills, what are my strengths, and a combination of all these things, and like what's in my hand right now to do, like what does that look like, and what could that look like. That to me was such unknown territory. And so I think I had the skill set to just look on the surface level, and to look at the surface level of what looks good on the surface, and let's just
Yeah.
go there
And do
without
it.
without
Yeah.
that deeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this journey has given me that sort of deeper awareness,
Mm.
knowing.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think stemming back from our conversation last week, about the whole being,
Yeah.
if we are able to sort of be who we are and who we've been created to be and show up as our authentic self, that also gives us clarity to the path and what we're doing. It
Yeah.
helps to direct us. Doesn't mean we get it right every time, but
Yeah.
it does give us some clarity of the direction we need to take.
Absolutely. And I think, again, back to my pre-coaching world, I've often shared before that I used to be such a chameleon because my being was around pleasing others. So
Yeah.
it depended on who I was being with. So if I was
Yeah.
being with, person A, I kind of became who I thought they wanted me to be. And if
Yeah.
I was with person B, I kind of, I could quite easily flick a switch and just be someone else, but none of it was real. None of it was authentic. And so, right back to the early days of my coaching, even exploring what does it look like to be me, and who am I being when I'm being authentically me? I
Mm.
had no clue,
Yeah.
so there was a
Yeah.
lot of work to do way back then. And I think the beauty is that I think now, because I have much more clarity around that, I think that's helped me to become much more clear around what is this deep knowing
Mm. Mm.
that
And
aligns
keeping
with
you
who I
on the
know who I
track.
am. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So thinking about that and thinking about your story and the path, and what what would we like our listeners to take home today? Like what are we sort of, where are we going with this conversation, I guess? Because I'd love to finish up with, okay, something that we can take away. What can we learn from your story of the path?
So if you're in a season of your life where you just don't know, the path is not clear,
Yeah.
it's vague, you're trying to go, do I go this way or that way? And even in listening to us today, you're thinking, gosh, what are they talking about? This surface level feeling and this deep feeling, like, I just don't know.
The
I just
gut.
encourage you from the get-go that
Yeah.
there is a way to work this all out.
Yes.
And it does, it can be like layers of an onion, and sometimes it is sort of, it's stripping off some layers to get down to the deep. But the more you're aware, and the more you become aware of, and have insight into uh the inner work of who you are, the more awareness you'll get around that path, and
Mm.
the more discernment you'll have around whether you're living aligned to that path. So I
Yeah.
think the big takeaway is there is a way, there is hope, and
100%.
there are steps and strategies and tools.
Yeah.
And this is what I needed before coaching, and I didn't know where to find it, because it wasn't like I had um besides just not knowing much about myself and where I was going and feeling lost and stuck, you know,
Mm.
there wasn't any other major problem that I thought I needed therapy for.
No.
I didn't think I needed therapy, but I needed help. So I think for our listeners, just to know that there is
Mm.
a way to find
Yes.
who you are and your path in life, and it is, yeah. And so, if you're feeling like you are floundering and lost,
Mm.
would love for you to consider joining us in our membership to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, partnering, and that's a beautiful way to partner with us, and be on this journey. Because as you've just shared, this walk that you took in the park, Kath,
Yes,
wasn't years and years ago. It was a relatively recent walk, and so we're constantly learning and growing and going back and relearning and regrow.
yeah,
We don't ever have it 100% of the time. And that's the beautiful thing about this membership, is that we can do this journey together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it doesn't need to be a one-on-one coaching. This is a space where it's community, friendship, connection, and we can grow together.
Yeah, so I think next week we are going to definitely share more on our podcast about what exactly is this membership and what you can expect
Yeah,
to
of
find in the
course.
membership.
Yeah,
And
let's do that.
but just know from the get-go, it's a space where you can connect, you know, take that one further step beyond just
Mm,
tuning in to listen to the podcast, and where we want to come alongside you and partner with you in a whole lot of different offerings and ways to help
mm,
you to gain clarity on your path in life. And so,
yeah,
because there's nothing more, I don't know, I've just found now there's nothing more freeing and liberating than waking up each morning and knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be,
yeah.
and your day ahead is, um, it might be challenging. Yes, it
Yes.
might be a lot of obstacles and things to overcome,
Of course.
but you still know that you're heading in the direction that you
Mm,
have been created to head into.
that's
And
right.
that is just so
Yeah,
life.
no more wasting the time, because how often do we waste all our time on the thinking, am I in the right direction? What's going
Yeah,
on? What am I even trying to do? All of that takes our time, saps us of our energy. So yeah, it's great to be knowing that we're heading in the right direction.
for sure, for sure. Oh,
Yeah, all
yeah.
right. Well,
Thanks,
it's
Al.
been a
Thanks for letting
great.
me share.
Yes, no, thank you for being super vulnerable and sharing what's going on, or some of your story. And yeah, look forward to doing all of this again next week.
Yeah, see you then. Thanks, Al.
Bye.